Hi teacher, today I'm going to present my APGI number 2 related with the history of Ecuador, which is divided into four main stages: pre-Columbian era, colonial period, independence and republican era, and modern era. So let's start with the first. Okay, the first period is the pre-Columbian era up to 1534. First, the ancient civilizations. Ecuador's earliest cultures date back thousands of years, with the evidence of organized societies along the coast, highlands, and the Amazon. The Valdivia culture, which is considered one of the most oldest in the Americas, developed sophisticated pottery and settled on the coastal village. Next, regional kingdoms. Later, the Quito, Cañari, and Cara cultures thrived, with the Cañari known for their fierce resistance to the Incas and advanced agricultural literacy. Next, Inca conquest. Around the late 14th, the Inca Empire, led by Tupac Inca Yupanqui, and later Huayna Capac, expanded into Ecuador. Huayna Capac established Quito as a secondary Inca capital, um, as nowadays. The Inca brought innovations in road systems, architecture, and administrative control. Next, legacy of conflict. Before the Spanish arrived, a civil war erupted between Atahualpa and Huáscar, sons of Huayna Capac. This weakened the empire, making it easier for Spanish conquest. Next period is the colonial, from 1534 to 1822. First, conquest and colonization. In 1534, Spanish conquistador Sebastián de Benalcázar arrived in Ecuador. Following violent confrontations, Quito fell to the Spanish and they imposed their language, religion, and government systems. Also, Audiencia of Quito, established in 1563. Sorry. The Audiencia de Quito served as an administrative district under the Spanish crown, with political power controlled by the appointed Spanish officials. Also, the economic and social structure. The Spanish introduced the encomienda system, forcing indigenous people into labor of Spanish-owned states. Silver mining, agriculture, and textile production became the main economic activities, with indigenous people and African slaves enduring harsh conditions. Resistance and rebellions. Indigenous uprising occasionally disrupted colonial rule. In 1765, Quito experienced a rebellion against high taxes and colonial control, demonstrating growing dissatisfaction among both indigenous and mestizo populations. Finally, independence movements. By the early 19th century, the idea of the Enlightenment and other independence movements in Latin America inspired Ecuadorian people. In 1809, Quito declared its first independence, but it failed due to lack of support, resulting in rash repression. Then, independence and Republican era. From 1822 to 1830. Battle of Pichincha. On May 24, in 1822, under General Antonio José de Sucre, Ecuador won a decisive victory at the Battle of Pichincha. This victory allowed Quito to gain freedom from Spanish rule and join Simón Bolívar's Gran Colombia. Then Gran Colombia. For a short period, Ecuador was part of Gran Colombia, a large state that also included present-day Colombia, Venezuela, and Panama. This federation was Bolivar's vision of a united South America, but internal divisions made it unsuitable. Then separation and Republic of Ecuador. In 1830, political and economic disagreements, along with regional rebels, led to dissolution of Gran Colombia. Ecuador declared itself an independent country, with Juan José Flores at the first at its first president. Finally, challenges of a young republic. The new nation faced territorial disputes, political instability, and frequent shifts in power between conservative and liberal factions, which would continue to influence Ecuador history. So, the last period, the modern era, that started in 1830 to nowadays in present, political turmoil. Through the 19th century and early 20th century, Ecuador struggled with instability, facing nearly 100 changes in governments between 1830 and 1940. The rivalry between liberals and conservatives often led to violent conflicts, shaping policies on education, economy, and church-state relations. War with Peru in 1941. Ecuador entered a conflict with Peru over border disputes. Then oil boom and economic changes. In 1965, oil was discovered in the Amazon basin, drastically altering Ecuador's economy. The 1970s saw rapid growth as the oil industry expanded. However, heavy reliance on oil made Ecuador vulnerable to fluctuations in oil prices, contributing to debt and economic changes. Also returned to democracy. After years of military rule, Ecuador returned to civilization rule in 1979 with a new constitution. Democracy brought improvements, but economic challenges and political instability continue to be issues. Constitutional changes and social progress. In 2008, Ecuador adopted a new constitution under President Rafael Correa, marking a shift toward progressive reforms. This constitution granted rights to nature, making Ecuador one of the first countries to recognize ecosystems and legal entities. It also expanded rights for indigenous communities and emphasized social equity. Finally, contemporary issues. Today, Ecuador faces challenges related to economic dependency on oil, indigenous rights, environmental conservation, and political stability. The Amazon rainforest and coastal regions are critical for biodiversity but are also impacted by mining, oil extraction, and deforestation. Ecuador's democracy remains active with frequent elections, but so that's it. Thank you so much.